Hello and welcome back to the Spotlight Games podcast, episode 77. Today, we skipped last week, so we got a lot of catching up to do. Myself and my sweet dumpster boy co-host Kamen, we're going to be talking about a bunch of shit we've been playing. We're going to talk about what the audience has been playing. We got just a bunch of shit to talk about, and I say we just jump right in. Kamen, how are you?
I'm good, Patrick. How are you?
I'm good. I after calling out sick, you might call it, last week, I needed a breather.
Sure.
As we all so often do. I think, sometimes people need to take more breathers. Just take a little moment to be like, you know what? I need a break, and that's okay.
It's okay.
But there's a lot to talk about. We've both been playing a lot of video games. Can't wait to talk about it. But Cayman, how are things in your world going?
Man, things in my world, how are they going? I'm house hunting right now,
Ooh.
Patrick.
Mm-hmm.
Let me tell you, it's the worst experience of my life. Everyone always says, they say your wedding day is the most stressful day of your life. That is inaccurate. Trying to buy a house is the most stressful every day of your life.
Sure.
Especially in today's market where everything costs an arm and a leg.
Yeah.
Interest rates are terrible.
Yeah.
So you have to build that into whatever you're planning on doing, these insane interest rates. And then on top of that, you're also fighting off the fact that you just have people who apparently can just buy houses sight unseen, cash in hand, above asking price.
Fuck those people.
Yeah, if you're one of those people, you're out there listening, you're doing whatever you're doing. Hey, here's the thing: call to action. Stop. Stop doing it.
Don't.
Go do something else with your life. I don't think you understand how many lives you ruin on a day-to-day basis.
Also, how are you doing it? Is this generational wealth? Is this cryptocurrency wealth? How can you buy a home in cash?
I think it's corporations, to be completely honest with you.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And we also,
these fuckers that call me 9 times a day to buy my house and other houses I don't own. They're like,
yes.
Are you interested in selling this house? No, it's not mine.
Yeah. I mean, you should say, yes, I am interested in selling someone else's house. Thank you.
That's a good point, actually.
You should sell someone else's house and cash in.
Fraud.
Yeah, I don't know. I think part of it is we live in a world in which Airbnbs have essentially ruined everything. A lot of people see that they can make a lot of money doing that. Also, landlords. If you're a landlord, guess what? Stop doing that.
Yeah.
Stop being a landlord. That's a horrible thing. You should never do that. I don't know what else to say. Call to action. Stop.
Today, we're all about the calls to action today.
Yes.
That's the theme of today's episode. Kamen,
yes.
I'm sorry that you're going through such a stressful time, but one day soon, you're going to be in a house that you own with your beautiful wife. And it's going to be great. And we're going to look back on this day, and maybe we won't be laughing, but we'll be drinking merrily.
We'll be drinking.
Yeah. One way or another, we're going to be drinking. We have a lot of video game stuff to talk about because this is the Spotlight Games podcast, where each week we spotlight the latest and the greatest in the world of video games. You can get it by subscribing to our YouTube channel at Spotlight Games Pod, or by searching for Spotlight Games in your favorite podcast app. And hey, you can be on the show by tuning in as we record live Tuesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern Time on twitch.tv/Spotlight Games Pod. So be sure to follow us over on Twitch so you're notified when we go live, so you can be part of the conversation. Kamen,
yes,
it is Tuesday, April 18th, as we record this episode, which means there is a new episode of Save Trash Cinema, the podcast, on podcast feeds. Tell the folks at home about such an episode.
Yes. So on today's episode, we had a very special episode where we sat down with the absolutely brilliant Kieran Reed, the director of All You Can Eat, a Toxic Burrito Story. He is just an absolute delight. The man has been in the special effects industry for decades. He started off, I think he said, the late 80s, early 90s, doing special effects, working for a small independent special effects company. He has worked on films such as Terminator, not the newest Terminator. He didn't work on the original Terminator, but he has worked on The Mummy Returns. He worked on he worked on Rogue One, a Star Wars story. He's got an incredible resume of films that he has done special effects for. Part of that conversation is him actually just talking to us about special effects, how they're done, how the industry works, and how the industry has changed over the years. We also find out what his most favorite special effects thing he did. And let me tell you, I was not expecting it. And it is one of the funniest things I've ever heard. We were joined on the episode by the absolutely wonderful Liz McLean. She joined me for the interview, and we had a wonderful time. Also talked at great length about his short film, All You Need, about toxic burritos and killer burritos. And you can watch the short film right now. If you go to the Save Try Cinema feed and you go into the description, there is a link to the website where you can watch the movie totally free. His thing is he just wants to spread the good word. He is hoping to turn this into a feature. So the more eyes he can get on it, the better odds he has of making that a reality. So the second call to action is, if you're a landlord, donate all of the money that you were making on this, donate it to make All You Can Eat a real movie.
There you go.
That's how it goes.
That's just yet another call to action.
The whole episode is going to be a call to action
on this episode 77 of the Spotlight Games podcast. Speaking of spotlights, we also have a new episode of Spotlight TV out, where Jeremiah and I and Jalissa are covering the final season of Succession, season 4. And we're going the bi-weekly format. So we're covering 2 episodes at a time. So we recorded another one last night, hit podcast feeds either late last night or early this morning. Doesn't matter. It's out now. It's just me and Jeremiah this time. But if you're watching Succession, if you're watching the fall of the Roy Empire, then head on over to Spotlight TV at Spotlight TV Pod on Twitter. If you want to just see it supposedly be episode 2 of The Last of Us every time an episode drops. That it's still the tweet that announces.
So fucking funny. Yeah. You know, Patrick, I actually had episode 4 spoiled for me.
Episode 3, like the big episode.
Episode 3. I'll tell you how much I know about this show. I had it spoiled for me.
Well, don't spoil it for our audience.
I have to say, Patrick, I still have no flying fucks to give about this TV show.
I get it. There might come a day in the future where you watch the show and you're like, man, I shouldn't have been such a baby back bitch all this time because this show fucking rules. But that day might never come.
I don't know if it ever will, because we have Ted Lasso coming out at the same time.
Sure.
As Successions, and like, I enjoy that show.
Sure.
So
a lot more uplifting of a show.
Oh, much more uplifting. Actually, I don't know. This season's been pretty downlifting.
It's been a pretty downer season so far.
It's been a downer of a fucking season so far, which is compared to last season, which was such like an uplifting, just like, it really, I mean, I don't know. I'm hoping that the ship turns around, because it'd be such a bummer to have like the most uplifting show just continue to end every episode being real fucking
sad. Someone said, is this the last season of Ted Lasso too?
It is, yes.
How about that?
Yeah.
It's all happening.
You know, I'm actually like, really appreciate that that's what we're doing now, is we're like, just, this is it. They're like, they set hard lines. Succession, final season, 4 seasons, final season.
Yeah, and
3 seasons done. I like
and
this.
Both of them were surprises when it was announced. Like this was not even to some of the cast. So I align with that. I'm down for ending a show when it's at its best, instead of letting it do so many seasons that are just trash.
Yeah. It is. It's. I do think this is important. We just need to end TV shows.
Yeah,
we have to.
We have to. Simply, the call to action is end TV shows before they are bad.
Yeah, I think they just announced that they've renewed Grey's Anatomy for like the 32nd season. So like, should have ended that pretty much on the season with the ferry incident. You know exactly. If you watch Grey's Anatomy, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
If you know, you know.
Should have ended the season right there. Kill Meredith. They should have fucking killed Meredith Grey right there.
Sure, should have.
Could have. Call to action. You should kill Meredith Grey. If she's not dead already, you gotta kill her.
I think they're going to go so far so that they can get to season 69 and call it a day. Then I think,
and then kill her. Point, she'll be like 102. Still, they're gonna just have her fucking propped up on like a dolly, her corpse. Just like fucking pushed around the hospital. Good.
It's gonna be great. Kamen. As we said at the top of the show, it's been 2 weeks since we recorded this podcast, the Spotlight Games podcast, and a lot can happen in 2 weeks. In fact, so much happened in 2 weeks that we decided This episode, we're like only going to talk about what we've been playing because we've been playing a lot, but also just so that it's not that one thing the entire time, we're bringing in some audience members. If you're live in the chat right now and you didn't already send me a submission, or if you've played something new since you submitted, feel free to drop it in the chat. We're going to read through those, but we're going to be talking about what we've been playing, a little bit about what we've been watching, and we're going to close it out with a little story as well at the very end of the show. Kamen, how does that sound?
That sounds wonderful, honestly.
I'm going to start us off.
Please.
Because we were just talking about things we've been watching, Succession, Ted Lasso. I also want to talk about something that I watched that is relevant to this audience in this podcast, and that's the Super Mario Brothers movie. On Friday evening, I went out. I had a little date night, Kamen, with friend of the show, Nick Sawalski, aka Sweet Skeet. And he drove down to my neighborhood. We had some tacos together. Then we went and saw Super Mario Brothers. And I'll tell you what, Kamen. I tell you what, brother.
Tell me what, brother.
I am shocked at how good this movie is.
Yeah.
Like we talked a lot of shit.
Sure. Yeah.
No way Chris Pratt's going to be a good Mario. The trailers made it seem like this was going to be just a total cash grab. And they're making cash. It is on track to be like a top 10 of all time. It's already like, I don't remember the exact stat, but it's either like the most, it's like the biggest opening of any animated movie ever or something like that. Like it is on track to cross a bill for sure. Because it's not even out in Japan yet. But I went into this movie and, the critics didn't have a lot of positive things to say about it. There were some like fine opinions, like whatever, but there were some people that are like, this movie fucking sucks. And I couldn't help but walk out of the movie with a big old smile on my face, wondering how could anyone not like this movie?
Sure.
Ultimately, the conclusion I've come to is I think this movie is for two audiences. At least this is my theory.
Mm-hmm.
Because I've not spoken to anyone who has seen the movie that didn't play Mario games.
Is there anyone out there who hasn't?
Well, that's a good point. Good question. But I feel like this movie is made for either children.
Sure.
And people who like Mario games.
Sure.
Because one thing this movie is just a fucking Easter egg city. Like from beginning to end, it is, I'm not going to necessarily spoil any of them, but it's like every what felt like 5 minutes, I'm either giggling or smiling because there was a little nod to something, whether it's something on the GameCube, another Nintendo franchise, like the music, dude. Like it is worth watching for the score alone. It is like there are scenes in this movie where within like 90 seconds, you get like 5 different Mario songs all in this like medley, and it's magic. Like honest, that is in a word, this movie is magic.
Cool. Yeah,
it is like what The Last of Us on HBO was to The Last of Us, this movie is to Mario. Like it is, I think, what a Mario adaptation should be. And I had a grand old time.
My brother took his kids to see it, and he texted me and he said, the boys absolutely loved it. This is like a perfect film for the kids. Loved it. He's like, honestly, I had a great time as well. He's like, there was just a lot of stuff in there that was just like nostalgic.
Yeah.
And like a lot of the little Easter eggs were really nostalgic. My brother's not like a gamer. Like
yeah.
my nieces and nephews, like they got a Switch, so they've been playing, Mario, and they're like, starting to finally like cut their teeth. My brother, he's not like me as much, where like we grew up playing games, but like I was more of a gamer than him. And so he was telling me, he was like, yeah, it's just full of like a shit ton of Easter eggs. It's just fun. It's very lighthearted.
Yeah. It's very fun. It's very lighthearted.
And like ultimately at the end of the day, that's all we ask for, right? As long as like it's fun. As some like the mission statement of Safe Trash Cinemas, we talk all the time about, like it doesn't really matter if the movie is going to be an Academy Award winning film. All the movie needs to do is, by the time I'm done, did I have fun watching it?
Yeah.
That's all that matters.
Yeah.
And here's the thing is, I think if you juxtapose that next to something like Manchester by the Sea,
oh god,
you are not going to have fun watching that movie.
No.
You're just not going to have fun watching that movie. But the movie was expertly crafted. And so, like, I think like that's the fine line between the two. Like, you have bad movies are ones that just aren't fun, but also aren't expertly well made and put together and
Sure. Or like
crafted.
they don't say anything. And
Yeah.
fun fact, Manchester by the Sea, one of the only movies I stopped watching. I was just like,
Really?
I'm just not interested in finishing this. Like it was like, I could see the quality, but I was like, man, this is just too much, too fucking sad for me. I'm not interested.
Funny. That's funny you say that. That's one of those movies that like I only watched one time because I was like, I just fucking bawled my eyes out like
Yeah.
halfway through. I was like, I can't. Like
Yeah.
after I'm done watching this, I'm not gonna come back and watch
Yeah.
this shit anymore.
Yeah.
I don't blame you at all.
Here, to bring it back to Mario though, which, you know, it does not take place in Manchester by the Sea.
Fuck, it would be really funny if it did though. Like, oh, your daughter burned to death, Mario. Oh, Bowser burns up Mario's kid. Fuck, that'd be funny as shit.
Sure. I mean, there were some like story issues I had, but it was like, whatever. Like,
Sure.
It's a Mario movie. I don't like. Sure, I maybe would have liked to. Maybe Bowser didn't need to be like so creepy about Peach. Like maybe in the year 2023, we like maybe we don't need to have a character that's like being fucking creepy, but he's the bad guy. So like, hopefully, a kid can put two and two together. Like this character is bad, and so I shouldn't do what he's doing. But
It's like, how did you learn? Like, you ask a kid in like 10 years, like, how did you learn stalking was bad? He's like, well, I watched the Mario movie, right? And Bowser was stalking Princess Peach the whole time. And I was just like, hey, if there's a bad dude who does this, maybe good people don't.
Yeah. Here, a couple notes though on the movie. And, you know, some people might say these are spoilers, but because, you know, they're going to now know that these things aren't in the movie. But a couple notes. No Fire Dr. Rosalina. Bullshit. No Dr. Mario in general. Bullshit.
Oh, Jesus.
Total horseshit.
I heard he was arrested recently for fentanyl crisis.
I mean,
so
he likely should be. However, I think what this movie definitely does, there are some lines in this movie that are so silly that's like, you obviously put this in because this is about to be a fucking franchise. Like if it wasn't already obvious, like I bet we're getting a Zelda movie at some point. I bet we're getting a Donkey Kong spinoff. I bet they are doing the fucking NCU and it'll probably culminate in a fucking Super Smash Brothers movie. But
okay, that actually sounds kind of dope.
I mean, it'd be pretty dope.
Yeah,
but
cool.
For a movie that was just like swimming in references, there were a few references where I was like, yeah, this was a miss. Like one thing that actually kind of was filling me with rage while watching it. There's a scene, if you watch the trailer, that takes place on Rainbow Road. These fuckers didn't put the Rainbow Road theme in this movie. They put like every other Mario theme you can think of in this movie, but during Rainbow Road,
song.
I know, but during Rainbow Road, it's this fucking like cinema, like fucking score with like, it was telling a story of like intensity and like build up, but it's like, no, just give me fucking Rainbow Road.
Yeah.
N64 Rainbow Road, just give it to me.
You're telling me a composer couldn't turn Rainbow Road into some like hype song?
Yeah, they absolutely could have. Like I kept waiting because it's a pretty long scene. I kept waiting like any moment now the beat's going to drop and it's going to be Rainbow Road and I'm going to get up and start screaming at how fucking hype this is. Never happened. Question from the chat, Babylon Drifter, are there bob-ombs? You bet your ass there is. Like just about every other thing you can think of is here at some point. Like the references are so awesome, but there are a few misses. And but it's like, you know what? It's gonna bring me back. I'm gonna see the next one now. It does have some of my favorite lines like in a movie ever, which might sound silly, but there's this one character that is just. It is definitely a character for the parents and for the adults. It's just this like existentialist, like there is no point in life character that is really funny. And out of context, the lines probably aren't as funny, but so I'm not going to like say them now. But here, the thesis statement is, if you're interested at all in seeing the Mario movie, you should see it because I had a great time. And I think you will too. It's like 92 minutes in and out.
See, that's good. That. I like that. Yeah.
But yeah, so that's the report on Mario. And ultimately, Chris Pratt, very serviceable. We gave him a lot of shit, but
I'm still gonna give him shit.
He did fine.
Fuck that guy.
Kamen, why don't we get back to a bit of what we've been playing, because we've been playing a lot. And anyone that came in late, we're talking about what we've been playing for most of the show and what the audience has been playing. So we have some submissions. So feel free, if you've been playing anything recently that you want to share, drop it in the chat. We can read it out loud instead of in our minds, because this is a podcast. This is an audio format. Yes. Kamen, what have you been playing?
All right, so we'll start off, Patrick. I have completed 2 full playthroughs of Resident Evil 4.
Whew.
Whew. Indeed. Whew. Indeed. First playthrough played on just regular standard mode. I wanted to get just the standard feel for Resident Evil. Did not disappoint. I think we talked at great length on the last episode we did about how the fact that the game is difficult. And I played it on standard, and the game is not easy.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. New Game Plus on assisted mode. Whoa, now that was what I was looking for.
Sure.
So I always say it. This is what I love about Resident Evil 4. It's like the best memories I had of that game was beating the game, going back, replaying it in New Game Plus, and just fucking ripping and tearing.
Yeah.
And,
ripping and roaring.
It took me roughly 4.5 hours. It took me 16 hours, almost 17 hours to beat the game the first time.
Yeah.
It took me like 4.5 hours to beat it in New Game Plus.
Yeah, it did.
It just fucking beelining through. It's really funny watching speedrunners do it too. And like how many enemies you just don't have to even kill.
Yeah.
And so like now I want to go through and see like, can I do a limited kill run? Like that's the run I want to do. How few enemies can I kill in a total playthrough is like what I want to do next.
Yeah, that is tough for me because I also finished it, and I'm in the middle of a New Game Plus, a hardcore, same difficulty mode, and I'm about halfway through. First playthrough took about 20 to 23 hours. I'm at like 4 hours right now, and I'm in the middle of the castle, and I have trouble running away from things in Resident Evil. I want to get rid of everybody, but if I were running away from things from time to time, especially when there are big groups of people, I probably would have cut off like an hour of my playthrough at this point.
Yeah, it's great. The game, like playing through it twice now, I can say just the game is still one of the greatest horror games of all time.
Yeah,
I do think it is much better in terms of replayability. I do think it's much better just in terms of just play than Dead Space. I think Dead Space is much scarier.
Yeah.
This still is very much an action game. And there's going to be a couple moments that might spook you, especially early on. But I definitely don't like it. It was just kind of like, yeah, this is Resident Evil is still an action game. And it is an action game that wears like a horror t-shirt. And as you're walking through, it's just telling you about its favorite kills from all the Friday the 13th movies.
Sure.
Like this is what that type of game is, and it's awesome. Like it really hits. And I think that's the thing too, is like I think we've hit a point where horror games are just really fucking good again.
Oh yeah, definitely.
We're back again. We have good horror games coming out. I can't wait to see. I will spoil. Huge spoiler here. At the end of the game, I'm not going to, I guess it's not a huge spoiler, but at the end of the game, there is a final cutscene in which a character is introduced. That everyone knows who the character is. And if you look on the screen, it shows you the Ouroboros virus from Resident Evil 5.
Oh, I missed that.
It shows you one of the main villainous character from Resident Evil 5 is on the screen too. I even paused it the second time around, just being like, make sure it's there. So it really makes me believe.
So 5, you think 5 is definitely coming?
I definitely think that 5 is coming. I still have no clue what 6 looks like, if they even do 6 again, or if they just are like 6 didn't happen, which I'm totally fine with that too. But I definitely think, and I think that going through it twice now, like I definitely think that there are a lot of ways that you can turn 5 into Resident Evil 4. And I think that they really proved that they know how to do it. And so that's been me. But you've been playing hardcore. So our experience has been very different though. But like,
sure,
you beat the game hardcore mode 22 hours. So
it took, yeah, it was between 20 and 23. I forget exactly where I landed, but
what was your final death count?
My final death count, I don't remember exactly, but I want to say it was in the 70s.
Okay. Mine was
it was pretty high.
Mine was in like the high 30s.
Yeah, it was pretty high because there were a few like boss fights that like, man, it is just ripping me apart. However, I am proud to report so far I've not died once in my New Game Plus.
Yeah,
on hardcore. But it's because
I mean
at this point everything is so boosted, and
I died in my assisted run. You ready for this?
I'm ready.
When the Salazar fight, I forgot that the bridge falls out from underneath you. That's the only time I died.
Yeah.
Because I was just, dude, I fucking went through the elevator, just fucking burned through the elevator. It was fantastic. And then got up, just completely forgot that you could fall through right there and just plummeted to my death. And was like, there goes my deathless run.
There it goes. Member of our audience has also been playing RE4 Remake. Kayla, friend of the show, says really enjoying it. Super spooky with the ghost emoji. That's what she had to report on. She's been streaming it a little bit too. I don't think lately, but if you're interested in watching someone stream it, JK Games podcast on Twitch. They do good shit. Also, Babylon Drifter in the chat. You've been playing Atomic Heart. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it if you feel like typing them out. Kamen. Next up on our list is another game that you've been playing, Mighty Doom on mobile. Tell us about Mighty Doom while I bring up the B-roll that I forgot I had prepared for Resident Evil 4 that I never pressed play on.
Totally fair. Everyone knows what Resident Evil 4 looks like. Mighty Doom is very different. Mighty Doom is a mobile game. It is released through Bethesda. It is a top-down shooter. It feels like a mobile game. And basically the premise is that you start off with like you get your one weapon. You kind of start there. As you progress through certain levels, you have to kill, enemies and levels. And then once you kill them all, you move to the next level. You can gain health packs and energy as you do that. And you also get little perks. So it's almost kind of like a roguelite where every run you're going to get different perks and you can choose different things that you want, which is also very much like a roguelite. Here's the problem. This game is designed specifically to take every single penny that you have.
Oh, fuck that.
And the truth is, by the time I probably put like a couple hours into it and burned through like all the energy I had. And then it was like, oh, either you're going to wait 24 hours to get enough to do this again, or you can pay $5 right now and replenish it all. And I was like, no, I'm not going to. Here's the thing. It can be fun. There's definitely fun to be had, but it's so much is locked behind pay. You have to pay if you want to enjoy this game. And here's the thing. I'm not going to. Also, fuck that shit. Call to action. Don't play this game. That's it. That's all I'm going to say here is like,
that's the report. Kill the B-roll.
This is worse than I would say, because like Bethesda had like the Elder Scrolls mobile game that was fun. I had a lot of fun playing that. I know the Diablo game I think was closer to this, but this is just egregious. Like it's just offensive, and there's gonna be the whales out there that sustain this game for a while, but like at the end of the day, I can't in good conscience recommend this to anyone. I just can't. So my recommendation for Mighty Doom is don't play it.
It's a no play.
No play. Get it out of here.
Next up on our list, I finally, if you're a constant listener of the pod, I've been playing Persona 3 on the Switch for what feels like 10 years. Finally hit credits on it, to then literally 2 days later find out there are now rumors that a Persona 3 remake is happening. And I'm like, God damn it.
And Jet Set Radio, apparently.
And Jet Set Radio. And we were going to talk about that last week if I didn't call in sick. But finally, Persona 3, the call to action there is play it or maybe wait for the remake. But man, what a dark fucking game.
Dude, that game is so dark.
The one thing I wanted to mention, because I have talked about it a lot on the podcast, is the final boss fight of that is maybe the most difficult boss fight I've ever encountered.
There's the difficulty spike in the final boss fight of P3
it's insane. Like it really legitimately took me 4 hours to beat the final boss. It's multiple days, like 1 hour session, like a 2 hour session, and then like another hour session to fucking beat this boss fight. Because what happens is, spoilers, just for like structure. You have to beat this boss like 19 times.
Yeah.
You kill him, and then he's like, well, I'm back again in a different form. And you just keep going. It's like, what? It was very frustrating, but it was a cool fight. Like the first time was very frustrating, but once I kind of understood what it was basically just like an endurance test of like, can I just keep my people alive long enough to win? But really, really good ending. Like one of those endings that like I kind of thought about for a few days. Like, man, this is actually really thought provoking and dark as fuck. And
Can I
kind of
blow
vibe with
your
that.
mind for
Blow
a
it.
second? There is a full anime for this.
No way.
With
Hell
like
yeah.
with extra content that's not in the game.
Does it go past the ending? Do you know?
There's a sequel too.
Cool.
So I highly recommend, if you enjoyed the story of this, check out the anime. The anime fucks. There's also an anime for Persona 4, and there's an anime for Persona 5 as well. They're all incredible, and they all have the same art style.
Yeah, I remember I watched the Persona 4 one.
Yeah.
Way
So
back.
the art style is fantastic. But yeah, I highly recommend. There's I think there's like a full season for P3 and then a movie that like takes place after. But definitely check that out.
Hell yeah. And then to wrap up my little Switch report, our personal friend Wario64, we don't know him, who we often get deals from through Twitter, tweeted out this little guy, this little N64 controller for Switch.
Can't wait to hear.
I've been interested in getting my hands on this for a while, but it's one of those things that's like always sold out every time you try to get it. And I clicked it. I was like, if it's there, I'm going to get it. If not, whatever. And it was there. So I got it. And I played a little bit of Super Mario 64 on this. And it feels good. Like it feels cool having an N64 controller in my hand. Is it more of a novelty? Yes. But for the times that I am going to play, like Pokemon Stadium just dropped on Switch, Nintendo 64 Online, whatever they call it. And I'm going to play a little bit of that, especially now that I have this. Like, I feel like if anything, this will get me to actually play more of the N64 online games.
So what I've heard is that the actual Switch controls for the N64 online games suck.
The few that I've played just on the Switch controllers have. Mario 64, the only thing that sucks about it is just the original design of having to use the C buttons as a second D-pad. But I've heard like the Zelda one specifically not great, but I wonder if it feels better on the actual N64 controller.
So that's what I've heard, is that like it feels correct, whereas the other one doesn't feel like it's just off in ways. So that's good. I'm glad.
So I'll be reporting back like as I use this. I've only really played like 30 or 45 minutes with it, but if you're considering this, what I can say is it does what you think it will. It feels like, when you're playing the N64 games, it feels like you're playing it on an N64 because
it is what you think it is.
Yeah, it is exactly
good
what you think it is. To bring in a couple from the audience, Kamen, if you would let me.
I will let you.
Greg, friend of the show, has been playing Mega Man Battle Network. I forgot to ask which console, but I want to say it's on Switch, but I could be wrong. It might be one of those games that's on like everything. So I'm not going to say what console he's playing it on because I don't know, but he says, I'm loving it. It's very much those same games from when we were kids, but the toggle to one-shot enemies makes the random encounters and exploring less tedious. I always love when a game gives it quality of life updates to make something less tedious. Yes. Always a fan of less tedium. And then Babylon Drifter in the chat reporting with Atomic Hearts.
Hell yeah.
It's like weird Russian propaganda. Graphics are pretty good and the gameplay is fun. My only issue so far, I've maybe played for 2 hours now, is the voice acting. Why would you not use Russian accents in a story set in 1950s Soviet Union? Fucking thank you.
God, that's the one thing that pisses me off all the time. Like we were watching some shit that's like, what was it? Kingdom of Heaven? Remember Kingdom of Heaven?
All 4 hours.
I'm trying to remember who the actor is that plays the main, because it's all they're set during the Crusade.
We got Orlando Bloom. We got Jeremy Irons, I think.
Was it who? Okay, so whoever it was that plays like the main Muslim character in the film, because it's the Crusades.
Probably a white guy.
Probably British accent. And I'm like, don't. I fucking hate that. You know what? Thank you, Babylon Drifter, but you've touched on something.
Yeah, it's always bothered me. Like way back, I used to like shows like Rome on HBO. It's why you have British accents?
Yeah,
it's stupid. It is immersion breaking. I totally agree. Keep me posted on your thoughts on that, because I played like 30 minutes of it, and that was one of the things that turned me off from it. But if you keep playing it and you like it, and you get over the lack of Russian accents, let me know because I might go back. But Kamen, I played Atomic Hearts on my Xbox.
You did,
which is something that you now own. Not my Xbox. You have your own Xbox.
Sure, I do now. I have an Xbox Series S.
Tell us about it.
Don't worry, I didn't pay for it.
I need more water, but I'm going to keep listening.
Okay. There's work-related things that take place in which you can accumulate points at work, and that was an option. So I spent all my points to get an Xbox Series S. So I don't feel bad about it. I know I was bitching about buying a house earlier, so like I don't feel bad about this. But the first game I played was Hi-Fi Rush. And here's the thing with the Hi-Fi Rush is I'm really bad at rhythm games. God, I am the fucking worst at rhythm games. And so early on in the game, I was having a lot of difficulties with the fact that like I was getting my ass kicked constantly. But to your point, Patrick, when you played it, you were like, yeah, you don't have to be on rhythm. You just do extra damage if you're on rhythm. So I was playing it in a way in which I was trying to be on rhythm all the time. And because I have no rhythm, apparently, I was doing really bad at that. And so I was getting my ass kicked. Sure. Once I just gave up and was like, fuck it, I'm just going to play this like every other game. Then I was fine. But here's the problem, I think, with that is that's the crux of the way that this game works is the rhythm part and how the rhythm works. Which one is it? Is it Gus? Is it George? Or is it Mighty Joe?
It's Gus. If it sounds like a monkey, it's Joe. Anyone else you'll hear is Gus. George doesn't speak a lot.
Well, my George just won't stop talking. So like here's the thing is like I think that the game, a lot of it hinges on the rhythm. Like that is a big part of it. The music is fantastic and you want to play on rhythm, but like if you don't have rhythm and you stop playing on rhythm, a lot of that enjoyment gets sucked out.
Yeah, that makes sense.
There's a lot of heart here as well. Like I think the game has a lot of heart and it's got a lot of soul to it. And that's fun, but also a lot of this shit just doesn't hit at the same time. Like there's some jokes that they do that are just like, okay, this is a bit old. And then it's like, then if you're not playing on rhythm either, you pretty much have to throw combo systems out the window because all of it's due to timing and like doing it on rhythm. And like, it just, to a certain point, I was like, I can't, I've played enough. I've played probably 5 hours and I was like, I've played enough of this game to be able to tell you exactly what this game is.
Yeah.
And I don't think that this game, as much as like, I think that there's a ton of fun here, I do recommend this game. Especially if you have Game Pass, like play this game, give it a shot. Maybe you'll love it. Maybe you won't, but like, it doesn't hurt. It's on Game Pass. So technically if you're paying for Game Pass, you can play this for free. It's built in, right? So like, I'm not going to say don't recommend, but also I do think that like this game is going to hit for some audiences like way harder than others. And
that's a good point. The further I've gotten away from it, because I haven't played it a bunch since that first week, but that makes sense. That like if you don't have the rhythm, I could totally see it just not feeling as fun because part of the fun about it is when you're doing these things in rhythm, it just feels so good.
Yeah,
because everything is on rhythm in the game. So that's a good point. And then speaking of rhythm games, Babylon Drifter, best rhythm game of all time, Cadence of Hyrule, Crypt of the Necrodancer. It's fucking great.
Yeah, I couldn't do that either.
I saw someone online today because this week, I think Thursday, as of recording, there's going to be an indie showcase.
Oh, nice.
And I was listening to a podcast and they were like, what if we get Crypt of the Necrodancer Mushroom Kingdom? And I was like, fucking inject it into my veins.
That'd be cool.
That'd be cool.
So, yeah.
I hope so.
One of the other games, Patrick.
Yes.
That I've been playing, once again, on Game Pass is High on Life. And I have a lot of thoughts about this game.
Yeah, tell me.
And they are split 50-50 down the middle. This game is a ton of fun. I had a lot of fun the first few hours. And then my fun stopped at a certain point when I ran into multiple game-breaking bugs. And at that point, I was just frustrated. I didn't even know if I was going to be able to even finish the game because of the game-breaking bugs I was facing. And so that sucks. Like that really sucks.
What bugs are you hitting?
I hit a bug in which an elevator wouldn't go back up. and
Damn.
it would not populate the world outside the door, and I just kept falling to my death. And finally, it did populate once, but there was nothing there. I had to go through the entire level to find a portal to go back, and it finally reset after doing it twice. And then there was just other things like by the time the game was done, I had to reset and like reload checkpoints probably 15 or 20 times just to finish the game. I think that the other thing too, my other big issue is your main gun that you get in the game, Kenny, which is the one, if you're watching live, that's the one on screen. It's the only gun you need until the very end of the game. You get one last gun at the very end of the game that's worth using. But you only have access to it for the last little bit. And by that point, the game's over. And all the other guns are more used for puzzles than anything else. And they're not good. Like they don't like, you don't feel like you're stronger or that you have to really change up the way you play. You don't have to. It just is what it is.
Yeah.
You just use the first gun the whole time. I think the other thing too is the humor hits for the first couple hours.
Yeah.
But then after that, it is annoying as fuck.
Sure.
They do now have the option to actually limit the amount of talking that the guns do. That'll tell you what type of game you're getting into when you have the option to essentially tell your guns not to talk anymore. Because and it's like the humor in it is funny, but it's like Rick and Morty. Like you get 30-minute episodes and then you're like, great, this is what I wanted, this 30 minutes. When you hit hour 6, you're just like, okay, this shit's annoying. And then they include characters that are specifically supposed to be annoying. And like, if you're doing that, don't do that. Call to action. Don't do that. Don't make games where there's moments where the characters are supposed to be annoying. So here's the thing. Final thoughts on High on Life. Cause I was able to beat it. It took me, I think like 6.5 hours. I think it's a short game. If you got Game Pass, give it a shot. If you don't like it, turn it off. Like, don't, if you're like, oh man, maybe the game will get better. Don't just, because you're not going to enjoy it at all. If you don't enjoy it. Also, I would say if you think Rick and Morty is annoying, don't play this game.
Sure. If you don't like Justin Roiland, don't play this game.
Yeah, which I mean, there's really good reasons.
Since this game came out, a lot have,
yeah. He's as we found out, is not a good person.
Correct.
But like, just speaking strictly from a critical standpoint and looking at this game just through a critical lens, there's stuff there that's enjoyable. But like, you really have to be a Rick and Morty fan. And if you're not a Rick and Morty fan, you will fucking hate this game.
Sure. So Bad Blonde Driven in the chat. What are you expecting from a company called Squanch, though? Great point.
Yeah. And that's the thing is that you know what you're getting into if you play this game. Like, you know what you're getting into in the first 10 minutes. Yeah. I will say, like, there is some funny shit in the game that I really like. Is that when you're going back and forth, your home is like the hub where you're like getting mission selects and stuff. They play 3 movies. They play Tammy and the T-Rex.
Yeah, they do.
Classic trash cinema. They play Blood Harvest and they play Vampire Hookers. And you can sit in the living room and watch the entire movie from start to finish.
That is cool.
And if you unlock the theater, they play Mystery Science Theater 3000 style, where you sit in theater and you can watch the entirety of my favorite trash cinema film, Demon Wind, from start to finish in the theater. It's actually an achievement in the game is to watch the entire thing while sitting there.
That's
so fun. Like that kind of stuff to me was like, that's really clever. And I really appreciate that part. But like, I can't in good conscience tell anyone to play this game between the bugs and between the humor and the fact that the gameplay is kind of stagnant. The one huge positive is it's short as hell.
Sure.
So you can beat it in like 2-day sitting.
When it came out, Rose and I played like an hour, 2 hours of it. And like, we enjoyed it fine. But that night, once we were done, moved on to whatever else we were doing, neither of us ever felt like going back. Like not an ounce of my body has been like, I should pick that game back up.
That's
before we jump into our next audience members game, they've been playing. Shout out to Kayla in the chat, jumping in late. What up, y'all? Hey, Kayla, you got some shout outs earlier. You're gonna have to rewind and watch that if you want. We shouted out your Resident Evil 4 remake streaming. I hope you stream it soon because I'd like to watch more. But Terry, friend of the show, who we've not seen in the chat today, but did write in. has been playing Hogwarts Legacy and Final Fantasy VII Remake because of the Final Fantasy 16 hype.
Hell yeah.
This is what he had to say about Hogwarts Legacy. Just from credits, I liked it. I found the combat system was more in depth than I expected it to be. I wasn't a huge fan of the gear system and hated that we were forced to do Merlin challenges to expand slots. There's just so much content in the game and it's kind of overwhelming. I also finally found the PS exclusive quest, and boy, was I not prepared for a horror segment in this game. Yes. LOL. I do wish the story was a bit beefier, he says, but I don't know how I'd fix it. Also, I wish there were more choices that truly affected the story. But other than that, it was pretty good as a casual Harry Potter fan.
That's
Kamen, do you align with all of those things?
I think everything he said was absolutely accurate.
Yeah. So I've still not booted it up, but that makes sense.
I think it's funny the PlayStation exclusive quest line is straight up just horror.
Yeah.
That's cool. In that it throws you for a loop because you're just like, oh fuck, I was not expecting this from this game.
Yeah.
Because this game is not scary.
He also added in a little part 2. He also upgraded his PlayStation Plus to premium recently and he did the Tiny Tina's Wonderland demo. Kamen, a little shout out to you. He thought you might enjoy that. And he said he thinks he's going to buy the game now because he enjoyed the demo that much.
It's an awesome game, man.
That's what it's for. That's what
shooter.
That's what PS Premium is for, with the demos, so that hopefully you go and buy the game. Kamen, today, the 18th of April.
18th of April. Yes.
Tonight at midnight, as the clock turns to the 19th of April, Horizon Forbidden West: The Burning Shores DLC will release.
Exciting.
I'm excited about that. And in line with that, I kind of put a pause on my RE6 or RE4 remake New Game Plus playthrough to play a little Forbidden West, because I remember a couple years ago playing the Frozen Wilds DLC for Horizon Zero Dawn, and it took me like 3 hours to remember how to play the game because it's a shockingly complex video game.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And I always forget that when I've gone away from it. Like when you're learning everything, it all makes sense because you're learning little bit by little bit. But when it just thinks that you know everything, man, that is a hard game to play.
Yeah.
So I've been trying to kind of ease that Band-Aid off to play the Burning Shores DLC, because as we've discussed, the next few weeks there's just going to be so many games coming out. There's this Final Fantasy 16, as Terry mentioned, in June, but we're also getting Jedi Survivor in a few days. Dead Island 2 just came out. Tears of the Kingdom. Tears of the Kingdom. So it's like, I'm like, I want to get kind of through Burning Shores in enough time for Jedi Survivor, but it's been a little fun to be back in that world, even though it is so hard right now. And part of me is like, do I just start a new game and play a new game for like an hour so that I can like learn all the controls again? But man, that game really dropped the ball, I think. Like I had such a good time with it then, and I go back to it now, and it just like feels, I mean, we're about to get this huge piece of DLC, so like it feels unfair to say, but I'm like, I wish there was more for me to do right now other than just kill some robo dinos.
I mean, the game, it's a sandbox. That's kind of how that works though, right?
That is the contract. That is the agreement.
I think, I have a harder time going back and playing sandbox games than I do like super linear games. Because like I agree. Because it's like a lot of these games require you to do all of this extra shit to be able to progress in a sandbox game, whereas like linear games are like go from point A to point B, from B to C, and that's what you're gonna do. But sandbox games are like if you were to go back and like I would boot up Harry Potter again to like start from ground zero, I'm like, well, I'm gonna have to do a shit ton of stuff to get back to like to just move the story along. Like that's how a sandbox game works. It's tough. That's tough.
There have been several times that I've been like, I want to give like Red Dead Redemption 2 another shake, or like there have been so many times I've actually booted up GTA 5 to start over, and I never make it more than 30 minutes. Yeah. Because there's that moment of like, wait, I'm gonna have to go do all of those like menial tasks again, and that just doesn't seem fun.
Not worth it. That's why I'm like kind of struggling on like, I want to play Burning Shores, but also like I'm gonna have to learn the controls again. I'm gonna have to do all this shit. I'm like, I don't really know if I want to.
Yeah, I'll be your guinea pig, and I'll let you know if it's worth it.
Let me be a guinea pig for you,
Patrick. Please.
I've been playing also Power Wash Simulator, baby.
Yeah, you have.
Played this? Have you played this game?
I did. I played. I played a little bit of this. So did Rose, and I had a grand old time playing
Dude,
this. It was like one night.
this game, man, I stayed up way too late last night just power washing
The
into
serotonin that this
oblivion.
game can give you.
Dude, it's just like, look, I'm gonna have to drop some hard truths here, and this is probably gonna get me in trouble, but like, just eat an edible and just play fucking Power Wash Simulator. I don't know what else to tell you. Like, this is what life should be. I will say there was a moment this morning where I'm like so tired. So I'm like, man, I'm fucking exhausted because I didn't go to bed because I was pressure washing all night.
Yep.
And then I was like, I spent this whole time pressure washing in a video game when like I could be pressure washing in real life.
Sure.
And I've not accomplished anything for it. And you know,
You
that
could've.
like moment of reflection kind of fucked with me. But you know what I did immediately after work?
Played more Power Wash Simulator.
Just fuck it. I was pressure washing a playground, man.
Yeah, you were.
I did also play one more game. And that game is called Gungrave Gore. And this game is also on Game Pass. Most of what I've played has been on Game Pass. So here's a little backstory of Gungrave. So Gungrave originally came out on the PlayStation 2 and is very much a PlayStation 2-esque PlayStation 2 game. There's stages and you just kill everything until you get to the end. Sometimes you kill a boss, sometimes you don't. It had like a very cyberpunk-esque story, kind of very mature. Well, the thing was, is the game came out on PlayStation 2. This is like the most anime-ass anime shit, where it's just like it feels like an anime when you're playing it. But the thing was, it wasn't an anime. It wasn't until the game people really liked the game and were like, wait, we can make an anime out of this.
So it became an anime?
So it became an anime, right? So the anime comes out and gets like cult classic status. People are like, fuck yeah, this anime rules. It's like really mature. It's all about drugs and murder and shit. And then they've released a few games in Japan. This is the first game we've gotten in the States. And it takes place like right after the end of like the first game. You get introduced to the characters from the world again. You can't really just get into this game if you have never seen anything or played a Gungrave anything before, because like nothing will make sense to you. This is the most PlayStation 2 ass fucking game I have played in a hot minute.
Yeah.
Like it is still the same shit where it is stage by stage. You're just going through stages and you're murdering people in different ways with guns, always with guns. And then like, you know, as you progress, you can unlock different ways that you can murder people with your guns. And I mean, that's all you really want.
Sure.
Like it is the most PlayStation 2 ass shit. And I think the thing is like that hits for me. There's a time and place where I actually kind of enjoy like modern reimaginings of like what a PlayStation 2 game would look like today. And I think Gungrave Gore is like a perfect, this is what this game, if you were to tell me this game was out on the PlayStation 2 when I was a kid, I'd be like, yes, this is exactly correct. I have a hard time recommending this game though. Whereas like, I feel like Power Wash Simulator, I'm like, if you I don't care where you're playing it, just go play Power Wash Simulator. It's fucking amazing. Whereas like Gungrave, I'm like, if you really like PlayStation 2 era video games, you probably will have enjoyment here. If you like Gungrave, you will probably have enjoyment here. If you are neither of those types of people, this game probably is going to just be like, this is kind of boring and monotonous, which is probably fair. But I don't know. I've been enjoying it, but that has been my time so far with the Xbox Series X.
Hell yeah. So far your purchase has been worth it in your mind.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't pay money for it, so it's always going to be worth it. I think, yeah, no, I do. And I think here's the thing is like, if you're a person who has one console and you're like, man, is it worth jumping over? I think the thing is like, sure, I guess so. Like if you have the ability to either afford it or you're in a situation like me where you got it for free, technically, like, yeah, it's great. I think I can testify to the fact that like when it comes to PlayStation Premium or like the PlayStation Plus tier system compared to Xbox, I definitely think Xbox has the leg up in terms of here are some games that are first party exclusives and you can have them on day one. But digging through the list, I was like, I think PlayStation has a better selection of cross platform titles.
Sure.
You might not get those day one games like you do with Xbox, which I think is fantastic. But like, I do think it has a better cross platform selection in terms of like, here's the wide array of games you can play.
Yeah.
So I do think that like they both stand on their own merit in terms of like what they bring to the table. And if you haven't upgraded yet, I don't really know where to tell you like you're the best bang for your buck's going to be. I think it really comes down to like which platform do you enjoy the first party titles more of?
Sure.
And I think that's the thing is like I think before the conversation was more so like, but you get all of this shit with Game Pass, and that's why you should come play an Xbox. But now it's like, I don't know, you get the same kind of shit over with PlayStation. The only difference is they have better first party titles, but you have to pay for them. So like, how do you split that down the middle?
I'll tell you how you can split it.
Get a Switch.
If you want best bang for your buck, you get a Nintendo 3DS.
Fuck yeah, you do, brother.
So I've been playing a lot of 3DS. Before I go into this, though, Goes Room to Smoker in the chat. Looks like the perfect game. I believe that was about Power Wash Simulator. You would love Power Wash Simulator.
Fucking great.
It's great. And like the only reason I stopped playing it was because I wasn't blinking. Like, and so I was like, my eyes, like I have eye issues. So I was like, I can't keep playing this game because I refuse to blink. So I had to stop. But the last 2 weeks came and, we've talked a lot about what we've been playing, and I've been dabbling here and there. I've been doing Resident Evil 4. I've been doing all these things, but what I've really been doing is playing a fuck ton of 3DS. I recently got this from a friend of mine. I used to have this and then I traded it in, and recently, which we didn't really talk very much about on the show, the 3DS and Wii U eShops both are no longer accepting money, and so you can't buy games digitally on those stores anymore. So I had this kind of theory that maybe this was just me convincing myself to go spend money, but I had this theory that, well, if Nintendo can't regulate the price of these games anymore on their eShop, maybe these games are going to start like going up in price a lot. And there's some games that I've always wanted to kind of get my hands on that, even though I traded in my 3DS years ago, I never played a few games like Animal Crossing New Leaf, because when I had it, this was pre-COVID. So I wasn't in the Animal Crossing craze yet. So yeah, I bought this from a friend and then got some games because my theory is that like I spent like, I don't know, $25 on Animal Crossing, that if I were to get it in like 5 years, maybe it'd be like $60 or $70 because, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this is just me kind of pumping it up to give me an excuse to go spend money that I shouldn't have. But man, I'm having a lot of fun. I've been playing 3D Land, Mario 3D Land. I've been playing New Leaf, and having a lot of fun with it. It's just like, did you ever play Animal Crossing New Leaf?
Oh, of course. Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, very topical content right here, talking about a game that was released like 9 years ago or something. But
like Animal Crossing was one of those games that's always topical.
Yeah, sure. It is like objectively not as fun when you're not playing with a bunch of people at the same time. And like, I don't have anyone's island that I can go like check out their stock market, or like, I don't know. It's just, there are things I'm finding, although I do think this one is designed a little more solo than the Switch one was.
They all very much were before.
Yeah. And so like I definitely can achieve everything. Like there are things that you can do to make a lot of money, that like the stock market isn't the only way to make money. It's kind of like how it was in the Switch version. So like you kind of needed to know like whose island had high stock prices, because otherwise like you can't, but like in New Leaf, you can make a fuck ton of money pretty easily. But so I'm having fun with it, but I can't help but notice like some of those things that after a certain time, when the game is not relevant anymore, like there's this Happy Home Academy in this game that apparently the way it worked, if you walked around with your 3DS back in the day and it like pinged other people who had this game, you could go to this place and like you'd be able to like see pieces of their island and like buy things that they own.
Yeah.
Obviously there's no one in my Happy Home Academy. It's like there are those kind of things that's like, man, it sucks that they designed this in a way that I can't use anymore.
Yeah.
But there's still other ways to enjoy it. And I'm having a lot of fun with it. But it kind of got me on this line of thinking of disappointments
Sure.
in games and disappointments specifically with handhelds. And then there's this story that comes out, Kamen. So I want to kind of transition a little and talk
please.
about, is PlayStation making another handheld?
I fucking hope so.
Because there are rumors.
I'm
pulling from Tom Henderson at Insider Gaming about Sony's next PlayStation handheld. Following days of speculation, Insider Gaming can report that there's a new PlayStation handheld in development. Real quick, pulse check.
Yes.
Just on that sentence alone, how excited are you about what I'm about to say?
If they don't call it the Vita 2, I'm going to be so fucking mad. But also, it's probably really stupid for them to call it the Vita 2, since it would just get made fun of like immediately out the gate. So you kind of have to call it something else. But like immediately, I'm like, yes, let's roll.
All right, well, don't get too excited. Codenamed the Q Lite, the next PlayStation handheld is the next piece of Sony hardware that aims to be yet another piece of hardware that requires the PlayStation 5. Insider Gaming understands that the Q Lite is not a cloud streaming device, but instead uses remote play with the PlayStation 5, a feature the console giant has been pushing these past couple of weeks. Sporting adaptive streaming up to 1080p and 60 frames per second, the new device will require constant connectivity to the internet. As for the console's physical features, early prototypes show the console will look a lot like the PlayStation 5 controller, the DualSense, but with a massive 8-inch LCD touchscreen in the center. The device sports adaptive triggers, haptic feedback, and will include what you would come to expect from a handheld: volume button, speakers, and audio input jack, etc. Thank you for clarifying.
I want none of those things,
Tom.
please. Thank you.
Insider Gaming understands that the Q Lite is in its QA phase and is scheduled to release before the PS5 Pro and after the detachable disk drive PS5. Two things that are rumored. So there's a lot of rumors happening in this article. As previously mentioned by industry insider Jeff Grubb, aka Jeffy Grubb, Sony is planning to announce its second phase of the PS5, which was in reference to its future game slate. Ironically, though, the second phase is very much true for Sony's hardware offerings as well, with the new detachable disk drive PS5, Project Nomad, which apparently has wireless earphones, Project Voyager, a wireless headset, and Q Lite, this handheld that is now rumored, all scheduled to release within a very short period. It's understood that the PS5 Pro is aiming for a holiday 2024 release. So whenever Sony's next PS showcase will be, it's seemingly going to be a big one. I don't know that I necessarily believe with that assumption, but excuse me, Kamen, how pissed are you right now?
Man, I'm not happy.
Is it anger or is it disappointment?
There's very much a disappointment there where I'm like, that's just a missed opportunity.
It's such a missed opportunity
to be able to like have games and play them. Like, man, I would love to be able to like take Persona 5 on the road. You know, there's a lot of great games I would love to play handheld that I guess I'll just do it on the Switch instead.
Yeah,
which
give your money to someone else.
Yeah, it sucks. I mean, on one hand, it is kind of cool where it's like, oh shit, like if I wanted to go trophy hunting or whatever, and I wanted, instead of sitting on my couch, I can go lay in bed at night and I can just, you know, be trophy hunting for whatever game I'm currently playing. Like that's cool, I guess, but like ultimately at the end of this,
do you want this? Like, would you consider getting this?
I guess it really depends on the price point.
What's a doable price point for you for this handheld?
It has to be like, there's no way that it's more than 200,
right? Like if it has to use the PS5 in order to run, there's no way. If they're charging more than $200 for this, fuck PlayStation.
I mean, like a nice solid 150 would probably be fine for me, but like at a certain point, I'm like, I don't want this.
Something tells me it won't cost less than $300.
Yes, you're absolutely correct.
Which is absurd.
Yeah.
Like at that case, or
$299 at the least.
At that point, just like don't do it. Or like, yeah, for me, I don't want this. It is, you know, depending on what it is, like they could convince me. I have the Backbone, which I don't use often, mostly because I have found I don't have a great experience, even though I have fucking gigabyte internet or whatever the fuck it's called. The PlayStation remote play can be pretty laggy for me. And there are only so many games that I can play remote play on a small screen that is laggy at any point, even if it's like minimal lag. Like there are only a few games that can thrive on that. Things like you said, Persona, like turn-based RPGs can work on that, but like there's not a whole lot else.
Yeah, and that makes me like worry that like that's gonna be how this works too, where there's just gonna be native lag because
if it requires the PS5, then that means it's going to be drawn, like it's not going to have all, like the PS5 will have to be working, and so there are red flags written all over.
Then the other question is like, if I'm sitting on the couch with my wife and my wife is playing something on the PlayStation and I want to play something on the PlayStation, can we do it at the same time, or is that like, nope, you're shut down? And then there's that. Then it's just like this might work for one person. There's like a group of people out there that are like, yeah, this would work for me, but it's like, I don't know, this doesn't really jive, I think, with really anything, and I don't like it. I think it's a bummer.
Obviously, this is all rumor and speculation. The one thing that could move the needle for me potentially significantly is if it, in a weird way, had like Wii U type functionality. Like if there were games that could be designed to use this, what are they calling it, the Q Lite, as like a Wii U type tablet, where like I am playing it on my TV, but I'm also like I'm using this as a controller. Like that could be cool. Like if there's a way where you have the map on the Q Lite or whatever, like if there's a way that it can also like just act as a controller peripheral as well as a handheld, that could be cool. Because that's kind of like a lot of people, I think, wanted that from the Wii U, and then that's essentially what the Switch ended up becoming. I mean, you can't necessarily use the Switch in handheld mode to play on your TV. You can't do that on a TV. But
I mean, the Wii U, like I think that one of the best examples of like the Wii U doing it right was like probably Breath of the Wild, which is like one of the last games that came out on the Wii U. It was like it took them an entire console generation to figure out like how that should work, which is kind of stupid. But like, like if you were to be telling me like, hey, you're playing, Red Dead Redemption 2, and on Red Dead Redemption 2, you've got the Q Lite in your hands and you have the map up and you can look at your inventory and you can do all this stuff here while also still doing stuff in the front like that.
That'd be cool.
That'd be cool. I could see that being useful, but like, then that means that developers are having to build that into it. And I don't think that that's something. The only people I think that would do that are going to be Sony first party games. And
to be clear,
like, is that even worth it?
Right. To be clear, that is just a total random idea I have. Would make it cool. Like that.
Sure.
But it almost certainly won't happen. But like, that's the kind of thing that would make me consider this, because this ultimately feels like the fucking I forget what it was called. It's like a glorified Xbox Game Pass handheld that came out like 6 or 8 months ago. That's like it's made by a company that basically you just do Game Pass on it, and it does the Game Pass. The Logitech G Cloud, I think it's called. And it's like, okay, sure, but like I don't know that I need that. But at the same time, because of the way that Xbox has built their shit, they have this entire system going in the background that makes something like that run better.
Yeah.
And PlayStation doesn't have that. And so, I don't know, a bunch of red flags written on this, but with the amount of kind of handheld gaming I've been doing recently and how much we both loved the Vita, I thought this was something that I definitely wanted to talk about. This was going to be one of the main stories last week, but I wanted to keep it around because I just make the Vita 2. Easy as that.
Fucking Vita 2, guys.
Just make the fucking Vita 2.
You know what? Hey, call to action, Sony. Make the Vita 2.
Make the Vita 2. Well, that brings us to the end of our show. Let's wrap it up with a little game release calendar update. So, now Xbox is in Kamen's entertainment center. The Game Pass updates are going to have a little more meaning between the two of us. So we have a few updates for Game Pass. So today, as of recording, Minecraft Legends out now on Game Pass. Probably not a game I'm going to check out, but I might if I get bored.
Apparently, it's like part RTS, and I'm like,
it is.
Done there.
The reviews are fine. 6s and 7s. On the 20th, so as of release, we're getting Coffee Talk Episode 2 and Medieval Dynasty. On Friday, we're getting Homestead Arcana. Next week on the 26th, we're getting a game called Cassette Beasts. On the 27th, we're getting Blaz Blue. Blaze Blue, whatever. And then a game I'm excited about, The Last Case of Benedict Fox. Looks cool. That's coming out on the 27th. And then May 2nd, so just a couple weeks from now, we're getting Redfall, which is a game that Kamen and I will probably be playing together and reporting back on. And which, you know, if you're still listening and you have an Xbox and you're planning on playing Redfall, let us know, because that's a game that'll be, I think, up to 4 player multiplayer. So,
Patrick, can I tell you something?
Tell me.
You know what my gamer tag is?
Oh, God. Dumpster Boy?
It's a Dumpster Boy, baby.
Let's go. Dumpster Boy, baby. And then for some balance, this is the PlayStation Plus games available now for April. On the PlayStation 4 and 5, we got Kena Bridge of Spirits, Doom Eternal, Riders Republic, Monster Boy and the Cursed Kingdom, and Sackboy: A Big Adventure. And then only on the PlayStation 4, we have Wolfenstein 2, New Colossus, Slay the Spire, The Evil Within, and Wolfenstein: The Old Blood. And then if you have premium and classics, you can now play Doom 1, 2, 64, and 3, and Dishonored Definitive Edition, the PS4 release. A bunch of really good games.
Yeah, if I could just say, if you've played the original Doom before and you haven't played Doom 64, give Doom 64 a shot. Yeah. It's weird as fuck.
Is it just the original Doom, but on the N64?
Yeah, but it's a little different. Like, it has like an entirely different soundtrack. It's got like different like accessibility options that are like the way the game plays is a little bit different. The layouts are slightly interesting because of the way that like the 64 was formatted, and it looks different. It's just a weird experience. Like I highly recommend like just jumping in, play Doom 1, like play the first couple levels of Doom 1 and then jump into 64 and then see just how the change is, because it is very weird on like what they changed and what they didn't. It's just like it's just one of those things I think is interesting, and I think some people might find some weird shit going down doing it.
Hell yeah! Well, that's the report, folks. Thanks for coming along. Thanks for your patience not having an episode next week, but we're going to be back next week unless something happens that I don't know will happen yet. We'll be back next week, but in the meantime, Kamen, where can they find you? Save Trash Cinema. Anything else that you want them to know about?
Yes, you can find me at the Dumpster Boy on Twitter, or you can find Save Trash Cinema at Save Trash Cinema on all socials. We have a new episode out live right now. So go, once you're done listening here, go jump on this STC feed and give that one a download. You will not be disappointed.
Hell yeah. If you want to find me, I'm at Patrick Schwag on Twitter, or the pod is at Spot Games Pod on Twitter, or Spotlight Games Pod on Instagram, TikTok, Twitch. Make sure you're following us on Twitch so that you're notified live when we go live. So you can part of the conversation.
Was that a call to action?
That was a call to action. And while you're at it, YouTube at Spotlight Games Pod as well. Give us a subscribe. I'm supposed to say ring the bell, but I don't give a shit what you're ringing. Unless it's me. Give me a ring. Let's talk. Rate us, review us, all those things. We'll see you next week. Until then,